A very special day. Normally we have a guest, but our guest was going to be the co-host, Chris Daley. Chris Daley is a digital marketing consultant. He's obsessed with increasing online reach and revenue for his clients. He has an executive online marketing background with a major emphasis in the 3 cutting-edge technologies future driving online business success. What are they? They are reputation marketing, monitor, manage, and train, traffic generation using social media, video, webinar, paid and organic sources, traffic conversion, marketing automation. He founded Digital to Grow, LLC, where their motto is being obsessed with your success. He is versed in importance of intellectual property, and he's a practicing patent examiner of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, specializing in technology of computer architecture. He's also the author in a multi-author book at Amazon's bestseller entrepreneur title, Starting the Journey of Entrepreneurship. He's a former student of San Diego High School, Howard University, and the University of Michigan. Chris is involved in the community. He's a business advisor to students at the Texas chapter of Washington Adventist University. He serves on the executive board to collaborate to educate our sons and mentor in nonprofit organizations and features forum, and there's just so much more. The Caribbean-centric futuristic organization, he serves as an active supporter to the Institute of Caribbean Studies in D.C. That's a lot, eh? Well, Chris, thanks, as I do with all our guests. Thanks for letting me have the privilege of interviewing you. So, Chris.
It's always a pleasure, Janice. It's good to be here with you.
Well, tell us a little bit about your Jamaican roots. Where you hail from?
Well, I was born in Kingston, but my parents' roots are in St. Catherine, a little town outside of Spanish Town called Kitson Town. So when my folks migrated here, they wanted me to actually have the high school experience in Jamaica. I went to Kitson Town to spend several years with my folks there before I migrated here to the United States.
Ah, and that is how you happened to migrate to the U.S.?
That's correct. My folks, my mom, and my dad actually in the early they had actually gone to England. He could not stand the cold. Came back to Jamaica. My mom said, we're not going to remain poor. So she, on her own, moved out. And without him, he came a year after to Washington, D.C. here. So my mom was a very pioneering woman.
Ah. So what triggered your passion to consider engineering as a career path?
What actually got me excited in high school at San Diego, we had a really great physics teacher, Mr. Silvera. And I remember him introducing us to electricity. And I was just fascinated by the electricity. There was so much energy and power that you can't touch it. And actually, at the time, in our village, I lived in a village about 8 miles north of Spanish Town. We had just got electricity. And so I went to the homeowners around, and I started to experiment with their homes. I'd have different gauge wires and actually change out that wire and actually thunder without power because it wasn't the right gauge wire. So they were a little annoyed at me at times. But I had a lot of fun with that, and I was fascinated by physics in particular, and that actually spurred my consideration of engineering.
I see. You know, in your audience are young folks with aspiration. What do you say to young folks who are considering STEM-related careers as a career path?
Well, I think today, knowledge changes rapidly, very rapidly. The thing with STEM-like subjects, it actually gives you a good solid basis, because in your generation, the kids coming up, they'll be having career changes between 10 and 12 career changes. Mm-hmm. For myself, they're going to be having much more, because the world is, technology has changed so far. It's actually disrupting stability in how we do things. And so they need to be prepared for their next career. Having a technical background, a solid background in the sciences, in math, in even the arts, are going to be really critical in the future for folks who are able to be adaptable to the very rapidly changing world. So having a solid background in STEAM is going to be very, very important going forward to have the kind of sustainable career and to be able to support yourself.
I see. So what triggered your motivation to consider doing a book about Talowa?
Well, it's in the word Talowa, that's from Wililwatwe Talo. It's been around a long time. We kind of say it over and over. And when you repeat something over and over, it becomes commodity. It loses real meaning. Mm-hmm. And so each independence, I've usually tried to do something different. I ran into a friend of mine at an event for the Institute of Caribbean Study here in Washington. She had written a book, actually did a PhD study in what the common traits for successful people for the Caribbeans were. So I said to her, Dr. Shelley, how do we get that kind of information down to the grassroots to where kids can actually start to absorb it, and parents can have a toolkit to help their parents, their kids to be successful and have those common traits in it. And so this idea the word Talowa resonated. It's a word that we can actually read, but we wanted to verbalize it. So instead of having noun, we said if you Talowa on, it makes the verb, it puts some action in it, and it brings a freshness and a new emphasis and a new energy to it that we can actually drive people's motivation. We wanted to launch it around the 55th independence of Jamaica, that where people were thinking about their nation. We wanted them to do much more than just celebrating in a party way, but to take some time and reflect of how far we've come and what kind of things is going to take us to go forward. And we think that when we revive this word Talowa, give it new energy, it could be one of the engines to drive us to greatness in the future.
So, what are the main issues you face in Jamaica, and how will this book help?
We live in a world where value has to be created. It's not, we pride ourselves. I saw somebody place a study up the other day, said that Jamaicans were one of the leading nations, the amount of PhDs per capita that we have. Having knowledge is one thing. Taking that knowledge and creating value out of it is very important. And so Talowa, the idea of the spirit of Talowa, when we look at the people that we think have made game changers for ourselves, that we would say they are Talowites, are people who are able to take a situation and apply their leadership, their skills, their treasure, their resources, and make a difference for people.
Nice.
If we're going to make a difference in people's life, we can't just have a head full of knowledge. We have to be able to take that knowledge and innovate. So innovation and entrepreneurship are going to be key success factors that we really need to drive hard. This book lays out some of the key steps that you have to do. You can't be afraid of failure. No. That's one of them, right? You try, you don't give up, you persist, you go back to the drawing board. And so we try to emphasize several of those skills that people are going to use to derive, not just having a head full of knowledge, to be able to take that knowledge, persevere, and to create value that can be exported wherever they are within the Jamaican community. So we have a series of steps to actually help them to do that.
Right. So if you're a principal to share with folks about Talawa, what would it be?
What could it be? The word Talawa?
No, what would it be?
Okay. Could you repeat that question?
If you're a principal to share with folks about Talawa, what would it be?
The principle that I would share is that one that we can use our creative imagination to make a difference. If we go back, one of the brightest minds ever in the last century, Einstein said, knowledge is great, imagination is everything. And so when we can use our imagination and create, we're great at athletics, we're great at arts, we have some great scientists, like Dr. Loy, what he's doing, within our plant. We're going to need a new generation of folks who see some of the resources that we have, not just celebrate what we have, but seeing how we can add value to that. So we're going to have to be able to apply our imagination in new ways to create new possibilities for ourselves. And so Talawa, to me, going forward, is to be able to have a foresight, to look around the corner where you can't see, but through your imagination, to see what's possible and create the possibility of that thing happening. So that's what the new meaning of Talawa is to me. And to be persistent, because sometimes you may be wrong, and you may have to experiment, but you'll have perseverance to get that goal.
So you're a person of faith. How does this help inform your decision to proceed?
My faith is very important to me because it gives me faith and my imagination kind of go together. You don't see a God in flesh and blood, but He's there from the sensibilities that you have and the spiritual experience that you have. The discipline that I have in my life comes from my faith. It takes discipline to be persevering. And without that, you easily give it up. You'll either give it up. If you do not have hope, hope is the oxygen of the soul. And without hope,
I like that.
You never survive. So those are and then there's love. The three big ones I said, faith, hope, and love, are the big issues in my life, the core values that actually allows me to have the kind of meaningful life and be able to give and give generously to others around me. And not just be fearful, because I have confidence that I've been destined for great things. I've seen God's movement in my life. He's protected me. He's given me resources. And He said, go make it happen.
I see. So now you have a unique position on innovation, being at the patent office. What are the questions we should be asking to make meaningful decisions that will allow us as a country to evolve our smarts to a more robust economy?
In the new world, ideas matter. That's what the patent office is all about. The patent office in the United States, where I work, delivers, because of our work at least $300 billion a year from the inventions that take place there. So without inventions happening, without trademarks happening, the economy actually stagnates because it has to be moving. As products go, they become stale, they become commodity, they become cheaper. So if you're going to create new value, new wealth, you have to create new ideas to make it happen. This year, what we celebrated 10 years since we've had the iPhone. Most people, it's an indispensable piece of their life these days. But without Steve Jobs making that inventions and that kind of demand, it wouldn't have made a difference. Steve Jobs had 313 patents in total. When he died,
Wow.
we actually had a special display that's actually traveling the world right now to show all of this man's inventions. Not the iPhone, but he had that type of possibility. We may not be on the same scale as Steve Jobs, but there are ways that we can take the resources that we have and create new products, new services, be it in tourism, be it in travel, be it in how we multiply the foods that we eat, that we can sustain ourselves, be it with energy. We have a huge, costly energy thing. We need to actually lower energy costs to make us more productive. So we have lots of places where we have to be able to adapt technology to get innovative, to start making a difference that the lives of ourselves, and our children, and our grandchildren would be much more sustaining than it is today. It's all about the quality of life and what we do to be able to make that happen.
I see. So, we've learned a little bit about what this book is about. How can folks get a copy of it?
Well, we want to be very generous. We've been actually giving away copies. We're going to give away copies till the end of this month. And if they'd like to get a copy, they can go to one place. We're going to give away 55 copies, one copy for every independent year of Jamaica. But we've talked to each other and we said, suppose we made it for the entire month of August. So
do you hear that, folks?
Would like
the
a copy of the book,
entire month.
Yes. That's August 6th, but the entire month of August. They can go to talawaon.com. That's TALLAWAHON.com. talawaon.com. There's a video there that kind of gives an overview, and they enter the information, and they'll get a link to the book that they can have access to wherever they are in the world. It's an ebook. It's in its ebook form that we're giving it away free.
Awesome.
So
now,
talawaon.com.
talawaon.com. Do you have any closing nuggets that you would like to share with our audience?
Jamaica, including diaspora, are we at the nexus in time or history that we need to look seriously and reflectively how we can integrate our ideas, be it here in the diaspora or in Jamaica, to have a virtual Jamaica that we are all in one harmony to be able to drive the next generation.
I absolutely love that.
Unity of purpose. Yeah, it's going to take unity of purpose to actually do that. When we organize ourselves, and not fight among ourselves, but actually organize ourselves and have a sense of grace and compassion and a goal of making Jamaica a mighty nation, we'll go very far. So we have to check the ego at the door, see what the greater possibility is, combine our effort, and as you said, one love can now take on new meaning, not just in a song, but in the prosperity of our country.
That's right. So, to learn more about Jamaican Diaspora, visit Jamaican Diaspora, of course, to get that free book. And we just want you to keep on, even if it's a month that passed when you hear this podcast, Still visit Taloa On, and of course, visit Digital to Grow Media to learn a little bit more about Chris and all the exciting things he's doing. So we'll see you next month. Bye now.